The granularity of detail is definitely helping me understand how this took 5 years. Hey, I'm Jessica Hester, staff writer at Atlas Obscura, and this is Show and Tell, a series where we chat with fascinating people about the fascinating things that they do. Many of us are stuck at home right now, and today I'm going to be chatting with someone who has been gracious enough to let us into his home. You might know him from a story by my colleague Isaac Schultz about a giant map. I'm thrilled to be speaking with Anton Thomas. Hey, Anton.
Hey, Jessica. My craft is to make hand-drawn maps with color pencil and fine liner pen. And yeah, I started drawing this map of North America just because I wanted to, not with any particular commercial vision. And over the years, it became apparent that people might really appreciate a map like this with tens of thousands of hand-drawn details all across it. This is the original piece, and you can see it's a little bit muted, the colors and everything like that, but the original was a working document, and so it was more about what I could do after getting it scanned.
So did you draw it like standing up against the wall like that?
Yeah, all vertical. And the critical part of it is I did it under magnification for the most part.
Oh, cool.
I was able to fit so much detail.
Yeah. How long would you stand there at a time?
I actually specifically timed my hours. I would put a stopwatch every time I started working, and I recorded almost 4,000 hours, official hours.
Oh, wow. How do you erase them and fix them? Is that a thing you can do? Like, what if you want to change something when you're partway through?
When I'm using color pencil and gray lead, can erase it all I want. I use an electric eraser. And because you can't erase pen, I tried the alternative, which is to use this. When you scratch off a city, like I was having to do, it damages the paper, and you have to flatten that paper out in order to draw on it again. Mm-hmm. This is how you flatten it out. It's with the electric eraser. So you scratch, and then you over it. So I'm going to pull up on the screen the actual file. So this is North America, Portrait of a Continent. Where are you from, Jessica?
I am from rural Canada by Chatham.
Okay, so I think we're starting to get into your neighborhood a little bit here.
Yep. It's between Windsor and London, kind of where that boat is.
Oh, right.
Oh my gosh, the butterfly. It's one of the biggest places where the monarchs stop during their migration. We have a butterfly festival every year.
That's one of the great stories of North America is the monarch butterfly. And I had it up here because that's one of the northern extents, obviously. But You can just go all the way down here. You see it in Mexico as well.
Yes, yeah. It's so cool though to look at it and feel a sense of like kindredness. Like immediately when you zoomed in, I was like, yes, that is recognizably my home. You just happen to choose to represent that area as something that is like so crucially fundamental to the way that the community identifies itself and thinks about itself. I think that's really cool.
That is amazing to hear. I'm glad you feel that way, because that is the idea that kind of drives me and the decisions I make about what to include. This is Niagara Falls, obviously. Because it flows north, I had to draw the crest of the falls dropping away, so it was really tricky to get a dramatic waterfall effect. Yeah, and we're just in the Midwest now, of course. This map spans all the way into the Arctic. This is one of the reasons why I'm going to donate a whole lot of maps to schools in these remote communities that I've drawn, because I don't think I've ever seen a map of the Canadian Arctic like this.
Yeah, that there's just so much detail. What did you use to research, like, the kind of granular topography of it?
Wow, it's a similar process to anywhere else. You just read all you can about the region and figure out what keeps showing up. In terms of the topography, that's a little bit easier. You just look at some topographic maps of the area and then figure out where the mountains are. So all my capital cities, whether they're of countries or they're of states or provinces or territories, they are marked off with the flag of the entity flying above their parliament buildings or their legislature. We were in Haiti before, actually, and this is just the example I'll show you quickly about Haiti, Port-au-Prince. There's this push towards doing something that's more idealistic, and I don't want to just be drawing postcards here showing all the best sides of a place. I want to tell the real story of a place to some degree. The cathedral and the government palace both fell in the earthquake And so I drew them sort of ghostly again, and sort of as placeholders, because one day there will be new landmarks. But
I think that's really interesting, the use of different style to convey that something's no longer standing. Are there other ways in the map that you represent things less literally, or with an eye towards helping people understand the history of a place?
I would certainly say so. History is a big part of a place, and some places are almost defined by their history. Look at Roswell, New Mexico, as this whole alien thing has popped up over there.
Totally.
That's a sort of really strange little piece of history from half a century ago. Cryptids and urban legends have such a distinct and special role in the identity of place. Here is Sasquatch, actually not far from Paul Bunyan and Babe the Blue Ox either. Far northern California in Willow Creek, where the famous Patterson-Gimlin footage was shot.
Is that a dinosaur?
Yeah, so there's a reason I want to go up here. We're talking about history. Let's go really far back. That's the world's largest T-Rex statue.
This map is inspiring a lot of wanderlust for me. I've never been to Calgary or actually anywhere in Alberta.
Well, it's one of the purposes of the map too, is I like to show people that the world is fascinating, and you should be excited even with what's in your backyard, because it's a gift to be here.
So is your hope that people will look at the symbols and then go and do some research on their own and figure out the stories behind them? Like, it's so cool that you know all of this information.
Absolutely. I love the idea that people would take this and research and try to figure out what's going on, with the knowledge that basically every piece of illustration has a reason behind it. I'm not making stuff up. That white bison, for example, is it has a name. His name is Big Medicine.
The granularity of detail is definitely helping me understand how this took 5 years.
I'm glad you can see that. Yeah, it's hard to tell. I mean, every single line here in Portland, every single line had to be ruled. This is a ruler from a stationery store, and it's a spirit level that I just super glued to it. Because I draw vertically, it means that the level works. I can actually get level lines. So every single skyscraper, every single straight line, every city label, which are all flush with each other across the map, I get it just leveled up, and then extrapolate that over 600 different skylines. My baseline is to have any city with more than 100,000 people in their metropolitan area. But I do round up the cities into a central hub. That's why you're not seeing Seattle, Everett, or Tacoma, because skylines take up so much space that I have to just choose the hub city, the really big one, and then kind of round it up. And this has caused a lot of controversy. I mean, a lot.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, well, one of the biggest, if we go down here to California, San Francisco is one of the most famous cities in the world. It has infinite amounts of content that you can draw from. And to try to fit Oakland just east of it on East Bay was super tough. Would I do it differently at times? Yeah. I'll just draw a map of California one day, a really detailed map.
Oh, I would love that. People looking at this who spend a lot of time poking around our site will definitely recognize things. Like the Salton Sea is a really popular thing on the Atlas because it does have that crazy story about like environmental disaster and engineering gone awry. I'm trying to think if there are any other places in the Atlas that might be represented.
I would expect there would probably be dozens. Here's Burning Man over in the Black Rock Desert in Nevada. And Burning Man's really the biggest thing happening in the Black Rock Desert. And so here's a giant Burning Man. The map is more than just the United States and Canada, of course. The other big factor is Mexico, which I adored drawing. And it goes beyond that as well. All the way into Central America and the Caribbean. One of the cool things with this project is all four corners, they fade out into space. You can see down here, there's actual constellations. I put a lot of work in to get ocean topography accurate, and a lot of the creatures that you see, they're all specific to the place, just like the landers. These are like my favorite to draw. Some of these just really monster looking ones.
Yeah, they're so cool. They're like the cryptids of the ocean, but they're real.
Well, actually, that's an interesting point you bring up there. So animals are cryptids in their own way. They have that same role. I mean, if you had never seen a grizzly bear before and you ran into a grizzly bear and, well, lived to tell the tale, what's the difference between that and like a medieval monster in a lot of ways? The real world is better than any fantasy world that's ever been conjured. This is the cartouche. So a cartouche is quite a long tradition with map making. It's usually a very decorative emblem where the title of the map is, often the publication details, the key or legend will sometimes be there. And it's more or less like the condensed version of the entire project.
Totally. Anton, thank you so much for hanging out with us and letting us explore your studio and also the amazing map that you spent 5 years painstakingly filling with all of these details. There's so much to wander around. And if people want to find more of your work, how do they do that from home?
Sure. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure to go exploring the map with you. I can't remember all the details myself, so it's been a nice reminder. And you can get me on Instagram at anton.thomas, and my website, where prints are available as well, are antonthomasart.com. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
Awesome. Thank you for hanging out with us. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching Show and Tell. If you have suggestions for people we should consider talking to in these videos, let us know in the comments. And if you enjoy watching these as much as we enjoy making them, please consider becoming an Atlas Obscura member. By joining the Atlas Obscura membership program, you are becoming a part of this incredible community of like-minded explorers, and you're supporting our mission to share wonder in the world. So consider becoming a member, and as always, also, don't forget to like and subscribe.